everybody. Thank you for joining me today. I do truly appreciate it, or as a friend of mine from years past named Luis Lopez would say, hello, my friends. I haven't talked to Luis in a while. I need to give him a call. But I recently had shoulder surgery. In fact, today is October the 15th, recording this. And it was 1 week ago and 1 day. So 8 days ago, I had shoulder surgery, bicep surgery, all kind of stuff. And I was supposed to be in a sling, but ain't no doctor the boss of me. I ain't no baby. I took the sling off just for the moment so I could make a little video and actually be able to use my arm without being too obstructed. But I'm at the point now where I'm allowed to do some movements, but not really anything. So they have me doing 3 times a day, just some really silly movements, and that's it. Otherwise, slinged up, rested up, let it heal another week or so, follow-up visit, and then begin rehab. But the friendly neighborhood mail lady has hooked the brother up, and even more so, a friendly neighborhood book publisher as well as book distributor, Brian James Freeman, has hooked the brother up. And I got a package in the mail. I've actually had this package for a little while, but I just haven't had time to do this, and I wanted to do this. And it is a Suntup edition book unboxing from Brian James Freeman at Levidian Publications. So yes, Levidian Publications, one of my favorite publishers, walking God's green earth. Brian James Freeman, the owner, fantastic fellow. And one of my favorite publishers, walking God's green earth, Suntup Editions, and Paul Suntup, fantastic fella. Both the worlds combined. But I ordered a book called Born of Man and Woman, the artist edition. It's the collection. I showed you the numbered edition of the actual short story from Suntup Editions. This is the collection. So the Born of Man and Woman collection, the artist edition. I ordered it from Levidian Publications and Brian James Freeman, and they're going through some changes, like worm and a cocoon. And so Brian James Freeman, I don't know all the ins and outs of the guy's business, but the guy has bought a place up in Nova Scotia, and I saw a picture of it, and it looks like he moved into a church, a cool old-fashioned looking church. He's moved into it, has a home. And in my neighborhood, where I spent a lot of time as a youth, there was an old church that somebody had converted into a home, and I always, to this day, wish I could live in that one, right? It was so cool in Brooksville, Florida. But anyway, that means that he's moved from the United States to Canada. So shipping of stuff became a little bit of complicated, sounds bad, but he had to do some work to get stuff shipped. So he sells his own books that he publishes. Fantastic. I strongly recommend you check out the Brian James Freeman's Levidian Publications website. Check him out on Facebook, and also look at the Patreon. I'm a Patreon member, and man, it really does pay off. The Brian James Freeman Patreon. Look it up too. I'll put a link in the description if I remember. The brain works really good, really rarely. But to have books shipped from a U.S. publisher to Canada and then ship them to customers in the United States doesn't make financial sense. That's a lot of extra freight, a lot of extra cost, and other complications. It comes from sending stuff from one country to another and back again. Doesn't make sense. So he set up a deal. And the way I understand it is that in this case, he set up a deal with Cemetery Dance, another publisher that Brian James Freeman once worked for. And he learned a lot of good and bad, and he started his own publications. But he cut a deal with Cemetery Dance, and there was the way I understand it, there's a person there whose part of their job is to receive and ship books for Levidian Publications. So Brian James Freeman pays a Cemetery Dance employee in their warehouse to ship his books that are being resold. Buys them in bulk from a publisher, resells them often below list price, never above. In fact, everyone I bought from him, it was at a discount. So it works out. He might make a little money on it, but really it's more of a matter of helping out his customers, his people that buy his books, helping them out a little bit, getting them a deal on books from other publishers. Sometimes it's an opportunity even to buy books from other publishers that publisher might have sold out, and he's not jacking up the price and ripping you off in that way. Not ripping you off, if you're willing to pay it, I don't see a problem with somebody making money, but he's selling stuff at a discount, not jacking the price up. That's what I'm trying to say. Well, the first book came in, and the person that was packaging his books for him, apparently, it's what I understand. I wasn't there, but that person didn't follow instructions and didn't pack the books properly. And the book I got in, the slipcase was damaged. It wasn't cushioned enough inside the box, and it was damaged. And so I actually recorded an unboxing video, and I said, man, I love Brian James Freeman. I don't want to shed a bad light on the guy. So I just sent him a message with a picture of the damage, a picture of the book in the box, the way it was packed, and the damaged, a ding, I think it was 2 dings on the slipcase on one end. Showed him the stuff and said, man, I'm not asking for anything. I don't want to rip you off. I don't want to cost you money. I don't want to do any of that kind of stuff. I don't want a refund. I'm just letting you know that whoever packaged this book didn't package it safely. And Levidian Publications has always been one of the best, one of the absolute best, using plenty of cushion to make sure that the books always make it to you in time, unless they are under a direct hit from a big bomb or something like that, or run over by a bulldozer. But he said, if I have, and I wasn't asking for anything, just letting you know this is going to hurt business, man, and I don't want to hurt your business at all. I'm not going to show the video, anything like that. I don't want to hurt business. And he said, well, if there are any left, he sold them all right away. He said, if any of them turn up left, I'll send you a new one. And I know you're not asking for anything else, but I want to take care of it, make it right. Well, a day, I don't know, very shortly thereafter, I just got an email saying I was refunded for the book. And I said, man, I'm not asking for a refund. I'm not asking for anything. He said, no, make it right. Sorry about this. I hate that it happened. I've addressed it with that person. I've sent them loads and loads of packing material. And we've had a conversation about obviously how much this is going to cost them, but how much this is going to cost them in upset customers and stuff like that. And even sent an email out saying, hey, if you get one that's messed up, let me know, please. I want to make it right to you. And he did. That's the kind of guy he is. But anyway, a lot of long story short, I got the other one in the mail, the replacement, and it looks much, much different. So here I'm just going to cut in with the magic of time travel and video editing. I'm going to show you what the original box looked like and what it looked like inside, if I remember to go back and do this. Inspired by stories from Richard Matheson. So he is the master of that sort of tale. And that's what you get. Busted up corner right there on a $195 book. So, and you can see the difference here. This is heavy, big, overkill. So now I'm complaining it's too much. But I shake this thing and there's no book bouncing around in there. So let me open it up and show you. And I'll tell you this, just based on what I'm holding in my hand and the way it feels, if the book inside is damaged, it's because somebody spiked it on the floor like a football and then kicked it like a soccer ball or a football and then put it in the box, because the box is held up and it feels very secure inside the box. So let's get this out. And very gigantic box. And you can see in here, we've got some styrofoam on top, like a breastplate setting on top there. That will help a whole lot. And we got the receipt. I got 2 receipts. Woo, I got 2 receipts. But anyway, I got the receipt for the original book, the original purchase. And then you can see around the corners is styrofoam corners. Fantastic. Excellent. That will make sure books get there in tippity top, cream of the crop condition. and I love it. And this is an example. I mean, this is a perfect example of a guy who says, I want to make sure I'm taking care of customers regardless, no matter what it takes. And that's what Brian James Freeman is. And that's why I say you gotta go check out Levidian Publications. The unbelievable guy running that business, taking care of customers, doing what it takes, not saying that's going to cost me money, so forget you. A guy that's not saying excuses. It wasn't that badly damaged, or you could fix that, or anything like that. A guy that says, I'm going to take care of you, period. End of story. You had me at hello. And so that's what we got right here. And on top of all that, Levidian Publications publishes fantastic authors with high quality slipcase books, illustrated, Smithsonian bindings, the works. Such good stuff. And so many fabulous authors that I've got Levidian Publications books from. I've shown you so many of them there. On the channel, you can go check it out and take a look. And then after all that cushioning, it's inside of a bubble mailer bag, or a bubble envelope bag here. We'll get it out and show you the actual attraction. What I wanted to show you to begin with is the Suntup Edition's Artist Edition of Born of Man and Woman. And then this book is shrink wrapped here as well. So let me take it out of the shrink wrap. But Suntup Editions, we talked a lot about Levidian. Suntup Editions is top notch. I got to list maybe a handful of publishers that I could say I love. I have a love affair with these publishers. And Levidian Publications is one of them. There are others. Suntup Editions is another. And they make such fantastic books, fantastic authors, fantastic stories. But they also have a tier? I don't know what you would call it. They have a tier. And so their Artist Edition / Classic Edition. They call it different things based on the Classic Edition. If the author is still alive and signs the book, they call it a Classic Edition. If the author is deceased, usually they'll have the artist sign it, and they call it the Artist Edition. So this would be an Artist Edition. Richard Matheson, Born of Man and Woman, one of my favorite authors, and an author who has helped me to find love in short fiction. I've always been a novel guy, at the very least a novella. Give me 100 pages plus, and I always felt like I had a little trouble getting into stories. And once I get into them, then I'm golden. And I didn't like short stories because, well, they're short. I always figured by the time you get into it, it's over. I don't want to do that. And the best part of the book is skipped now, of the story. But authors like Richard Matheson and others have shown me how a well-written short story is a thing of beauty. It's like a miracle. It gets you in, hooks you, tells you a story, and sends you home. Sometimes happy, sometimes shocked, sometimes other things, scared, not believing what you read. But Richard Matheson is a master of the short story. And you can see the condition of this slipcase is tip-top, cream of the crop. This is where the other one was busted up on the corners there. And it's just nice. And Suntup Editions has fantastic stuff. The slipcase, it looks so good. You got cloth. It's a type of cloth all the way around, but it's two colors. The top is capped. You have a label on the back. Hot foil stamping. Looks very, very good. And the slipcases are quality. Good quality stuff. It's thick. It's cardboard wrapped in the material. They're not always the same. They're always quality, but there's such a variety of them. But it's good stuff. I love slipcases. I'm glad Suntup Edition is making this. But this tier, this would be their most economically priced tier, the Artist / Classic. And they go for between typically $125 to $200 usually is what it is. And you get the works, the bells and whistles. You get Smithsonian bindings. You get quality papers, quality materials. You get a nice dust jacket almost always. Interior illustrations, usually 6. I think 6 is good. 6 interior illustrations. It's exactly what you'd expect from a limited edition publisher. And then you have the next tier, which is more into the luxury publishing. You usually don't have dust jackets. You may have leather-bound books, cloth-bound books, a variety. They're a step up big time, better than almost every other publisher's lettered edition. Then you have the lettered editions, which I'm not a lettered guy. I feel like I ought to know my place, know my role, stay in my lane, and that's not being lettered guy. But here is Born of Man and Woman, Richard Matheson's short story collection, one of many of his short story collections. And Born of Man and Woman is a short story. It's the titular story in this book. And it is a disturbing little tale. And we'll see here imagery that would reflect perhaps the story of Born of Man and Woman. And it's not really exactly clear what the main character is. It's told from that first person perspective. And is it a person? I don't know. Something that is hideous to look at, and something that can be deadly. Locked in a basement. Mom and dad, they feed it. They punish it. They chain it up down in the basement. They don't want anybody to know about it. They don't love it. They don't treat it well. All this kind of things. And it's a sad story with the ending that, I don't know. It's kind of like the sort of an ending to it. But it's touching. And it also gives you that cool Twilight Zone. Not Twilight Zone. It's more dark than that. But it gives you that kind of twist where at the end you do say, "Ooh, yeah." But the back of this dust jacket is a two-sided dust jacket. Is the original cover art, a replica of the original first edition dust jacket artwork. And Mel Hunter did the original artwork. And then on the front of this dust jacket, Clive Hicks Jenkins, new art. And the book is illustrated by Clive Hicks Jenkins. So we'll get the book out now and take a look at all of it is. So I said this is Suntup's most economically priced tier, but it exceeds almost every other publisher's numbered edition. It's limited to 500 copies, although they're not individually numbered. There's only 500 copies printed. Cloth-bound book with hot foil stamping on the spine. Let's see how you can see it. I don't know. A quality Smith sewn binding. And it's printed on Cougar natural paper. Printed offset. Let's look at our illustrated end papers. They do look so nice. So fine. And just another example of the things that make Suntup edition special. So I said that the artist editions are signed by the artist typically. And so we look at the back here. It is signed by Clive Hicks Jenkins. The new artwork done there. So Born of Man and Woman by Richard Matheson, limited to 500 copies. All copies are signed by the artist. The text pages are set in Lebe types and printed offset on Cougar opaque paper. Interior design and typography by Jerry Kelly. So let's go through here. Let's see what all is included. We have an introduction by Robert Block and a foreword by Richard R.C. Matheson. Richard Christian Matheson, Suntup Editions, 2025. So that's what you see here is what you get here. What else do we have in here? That's interior illustrations. So first, let's talk about the contents. There's the table of contents. It is a collection of stories here. And so you have the foreword and introduction. Then you have the story Born of Man and Woman. You have Third from the Sun, Through Channels, Lover When You're Near Me, SRL Ad, Madhouse, F dash dash dash, the big one. The Big Kahuna, the F dash, Dear Diary, To Fit the Crime, Witch War, Return, Dress of White Silk, Full Circle, Disappearing Act, The Wedding, Ship Shape Home, The Traveler, A Note on the Illustrations, Introduction to Supplemental Material, Notes on Supplemental Material, and the Supplemental Material. So there are over 100 pages of additional supplemental material included here. And before we go, I'd like to flip through and see if I can locate these interior illustrations for you so you can see what all is included in the book. So there's one right there, and I don't know if there's one for every story or not. I'll try to find as many as I can, and it appears there are loads because I've already stumbled into two after just flipping a few. So the interior illustrations, and I don't know for sure, I don't know really at all which artist did these. I'm assuming that they are Clive Hicks Jenkins illustrations. I'll look in a minute to see if the dust jacket says so. I don't know if the first edition had interior artwork at all or not. But my guess, simple guess, Clive Hicks Jenkins is the illustrator here. We'll look and see if I can verify before you go, but there are so many pictures in this book. So many. Whoever did all the artwork here was kept busy. And I don't know if I'll be able, if they keep on at this rate, I won't be able to show you all of them. I'll need to put my arm back in a sling and get back to eating dinner. Get to eating dinner. You got to feed the kids. You got to feed them kids every now and then, you know. It's one of the things about having children that they don't tell you up front. Well, you got to feed them. Yeah. Anyway, this is a great edition. I've gotten so far every one of Suntup editions, Richard Matheson editions, both numbered and the artist editions. I'm a fan of the author, and I'm really glad that a publisher like Suntup Editions is publishing their work. I would like to see them do the Shrinking Man. I'd love to see them do Stir of Echoes, just to name a couple. I'd like to get copies of those with the Suntup treatment as well. I've got those books from other publishers. In fact, I've got both of those books signed editions from Gauntlet. But even at their best, Gauntlet is not Suntup Editions. Was not, will not, ever will be, for sure. So I'd like to see a nice set of Suntups coming out with all the big Richard Matheson books. But those are a couple that I'd really like to have on the shelf. So much artwork in here. And for me, Richard Matheson and Ray Bradbury, they're so different, but somehow they're always linked in my mind. I stumbled upon both authors at about the same time, read their most famous books at about the same time. Both authors wrote a lot of short fiction and some really great novels, well-loved novels as well. I wouldn't really compare them as writers. I wouldn't even compare them as in the same genre. But for some reason, I've always kind of got them boxed in together. And I'd love to see Suntup do some more Bradbury work as well. There are some Bradbury works that I'd like to have the Suntup treatment for. But this right here, and now, let's see, Introduction to Born of Man and Woman. So this deep into the book, we're getting into the supplemental materials, the introduction of the supplemental materials and all that stuff. So let's just show you a couple pictures of what we're seeing here. So we're seeing some corrected manuscripts or something like that in here. We're seeing some letters, some cool stuff, lots and lots of stuff. So it's a definitive edition really as well. If this book and all things related to this book matter to you, well, this is the edition to get, because there is so much to pour through and see what all happened, who all said what, how things went down, what it looked like, and maybe imagine what it might have felt like to have been involved in some of this stuff. And then here we got articles, and it's just cool. I love it when a publisher can be definitive with editions, especially stuff like this. It's like a time capsule, capturing moments in time. And so there is Born of Man and Woman, the collection. And there's the artist edition. Brian James Freeman at Living Publications went too far to make some nobody happy with his experience. And I sure appreciate it. I feel almost embarrassed about it. Humbled for sure. But I sure appreciate it. There's one thing I know. A loyal customer to Levidian Publications I am. That's Yoda. I quoted Yoda there. But I love Suntup editions. I love the Vidian publications, and I love getting fine quality, beautiful, great books for my collection as a collector of things and a reader of books. With that being said, I can think of no more lives to tell, so thank you for your time. I do truly appreciate it. C'est la vie, baby. Doo-doo.